topic going to talk about is called Watershed 1967. It's about the 1967 war, right? And actually not war, maybe a battle. But what people don't know is that India and China actually fought in 1967. Not many people know. At least I never knew that this happened, right? And had the unfortunate Galwan incident or the latest Chulsha range firing not happened, I could have started that this was the last time in the last 53 years when two mighty, powerful neighbors with a disputed boundary line, unmarked, stretching over thousands of kilometers, has been completely peaceful. No shots have been fired. No blood has been lost, right? Unfortunately, Galwan happened and we all know about it. But this was the last time when actually India and China, went to a limited scale war. And what I'll do is I'll structure my next few minutes into a couple of things. One, why is this event important, and few interesting things which I found in the book, and a couple of my takeaways, because I always believe if a book enriches you in whatever little form, I think it's left something on you, right? So why is 1967 important? I always thought that if you look at Indian war history, right, before Kargil, there was 1962, 1965 and 1971. And it was like a line where 1962 we lost badly, 1965 we won, and 1975 was a thumping victory for India. Having read little bit about war history, what I've come to know is 1965 wasn't a emphatic win. From whatever new facets I've gathered, it was kind of a Stevens kind of a thing. India won something, Pakistan won a few territories, and eventually everything was settled. So, but any which ways, if you look at the momentum of India, right, as a sovereign power, 1962 was a crushing defeat. 1965 we kind of held ourselves, right, because Pakistan thought we are weak. We had, by the 1962 war ended, we had started investing in army, modernization of army, etc. 1967 when India defeated China, and I'm using the word defeated here, right, because the book also says it's the forgotten victory, right? So it was a clear victory, and for whatever reason it was never celebrated too much. And then 1971 we all know, right? So this is the importance of this war, right? It just pushed back and make them realize that we are no pushovers, right? And why is this very critical, right? One is the strategic importance that China argued, but very specifically, why was China fought this war? If you all know, if you ever been to Northeast or not been to Northeast but looked at the map, there's a very famous chicken snake in India map, right? Which is that small trait of land which goes very near to Sikkim, and the other side is Bangladesh. Now, if you put this entire geography and the history together, China wanted India to lose the Bangladesh war, so that with Pakistan as their client state, they could have easily taken, pushed through this part of Sikkim, cut India's northeast, and then, it gives me shivers to think what could have happened. And kudos to some of our warriors which never let this thing happen, right? So this is about why this book is very, very important and talks about a very, very important thing which is not so much documented in the Indian war history. So it's by Mr. Prabal Das Gupta, right? And he gives a very good context on the build-up of this book, right? So he doesn't just start with the war which happened, right? Which, by the way, happened in Nathula and Chola sectors in the Sikkim. And he gives a very interesting and a very informative build-up to the whole war. How US, China, Pakistan, USSR, India were all getting into after 1962, 1965 and the events after 1965. Very, very nice incidents. I won't give you the answer, but if everyone is interested, they can Google. It's a very simple first result that will come. Do you know India actually bombed their own citizens ever? There was one state which the Indian Air Force actually bombed, and it was not targeted per se at any surgical strike or something. They actually bombed a state. If you just Google when was the last time India bombed its state ever or something, you'll get what I'm trying to. It talks about facts that which are very little known, that the Chinese actually instigated insurgency in the northeast, and how Indian government and spy agencies came about and crushed those kind of aspiration that Chinese had. It also talks about how Sikkim, which was kind of a monarchy at that point of time, they got back to India, right? And how our army, our bureaucrats and the politicians got together, acted in a very, very coordinated effort so that Sikkim stays in India, and we know the importance of Sikkim, right? I'm not going into details of this book. It basically is about two wars. One is the Chola sector and the other is Nathula sector, which were limited time battles, and India, after initial setbacks, on the courage and the valor of our great soldiers, won. And after that, we know what it is, right? That China, till very recent time, never tried to attack India. They have their own salami tactics. They tried in Doklam also, and I think 86, the DSO sector, the thing also they've tried, but they never military kind of effort. It was a very quiet salami tactic kind of approach. So it talks about some famous leaders from our army, like Mr. I'm forgetting the designation. I'm just using the Mr. I don't like to call a lieutenant general as a major or something. So Mr. Harbaksh Singh, and there are a lot of people, right? It's a very good, vivid account with nice photographs and nice maps. Few things which I really liked is it talks about an instance where the army, we all know army is a very top-down kind of organization, right? You are not supposed to confront any instruction which comes from your superiors, right? There was instruction given to a battalion of ours to actually move back from the border of China, because the military brass at the senior level felt that India cannot be occupying such a front position, and they had instructed actually our battalion there to retreat, right? And there was a guy who had planned, who knew the local area and had we are not so weak, and two, if we retreat, the whatever limited chance we have of holding this fort will go back. And he actually didn't follow the instruction, and that's a very nice, simple principle which can apply today also. If your leader is instructing you something which you are not very sure of, right? You can either confront or debate, but at that point of time, in that context, neither was the luxury of time nor the culture did that. So what that guy did was very interesting. He knew there's a call which is coming to my, there's only phone, right? You can't send email or something, or a WhatsApp where a double tick will make, इसमें देख लिया तो अब तो ये करना पड़ेगा, right? So what he did was, when the phone came, he told his colleague or whoever was there that whenever this phone comes, tell him I have gone to the forward post and I'm out of network. So the basic idea is, you might have sent a message, I never received it, so there's no question of disobeying your message. And he didn't receive, right? And God forbid what would have happened had he agreed to retreating. Other very interesting things, like there was this army leader, and again not taking I don't remember the designation. Before he actually prepared the troops, he actually went to all the front posts. He met almost all the frontline soldiers. I think the key lesson is the word enrich, which I use, is for any corporate, or if you're in business, right? They always say keep your ears to the ground. Go and speak to your frontline sales team. Go and meet your customers, right? It's the same thing. If you know the topography, if you know the competition, if you know the category very well, the landscape very well, right? It's not just about 1967 war. It's something which I personally feel today also, that if you have your ears to the ground, if you meet the frontline sales teams, right? People on the front, they will give you a lot of interesting insights. What we may feel is a low share market for us, they will give you tremendous insights which can turn to opportunity. We actually comb the entire topography, figure out which are the tactical, strategic points that India he ahead and placed his soldiers there so that they not take a surprise, and rest is as this is history. He also was very proactive, and when I'm saying he, there it talks about 2 or 3 leaders. So India reacted very proactively. So when the local intelligentsia gave them signal that the Chinese are stirring up their military strength, they immediately went to the front line, took strategic heights, and that saved them, in the final thing. And so being proactive always helps. This is also an instance where to fire an artillery, right? At that point in time, given that context, the thing was beyond a certain level of machinery, you requires India's Prime Minister's approval. And somehow, good thing prevailed, and the message was sent to Mrs. Indira Gandhi, who was occupied in something, but within a minute, with trusting the army's recommendation without holding parleys with the cabinet, etc. She gave a very, very firm and quick signal that yes, we will fire, and she didn't waste any time, and the war was not just saved, the war was won. So great book, strongly recommended, given the whole noise and the clouds around India China these days. So very interestingly written, right? And if you have ever seen the 1965 border movie, right, you can visualize the whole things in border, which happens, machineries, tanks coming, etc. Although it was a very high altitude thing, but somehow I was able to visualize a lot of stuff. So credit goes to Mr. Praval Das Gupta for a very, very well researched story in the book, and told in a very, very, very impactful manner.